Welcome back to Drama Uncovered. A child once tried to silence her father, not knowing that one moment would turn into a murder no one could ever truly solve. And this is the story of Havana, a case where the truth hides in silence, fear, and a mother's sacrifice. The story begins inside a quiet house, where a woman named Yuna is sitting beside her husband's lifeless body. And what makes the scene even more disturbing is not just the death itself, but the way it happened. His mouth has been completely sealed shut with super glue, leaving him unable to breathe, turning his final moments into something slow, suffocating, and terrifying. There are no signs of forced entry, no broken locks, no open windows, and no indication that anyone from outside ever entered that house, which immediately narrows everything down to just one person, Yuna. She is arrested without much resistance, and what shocks everyone even more is that she doesn't deny anything. Instead, she calmly accepts the crime, repeating again and again that she is the one who killed her husband, as if she has already made peace with the consequences. At first glance, the case looks simple, almost too simple, and that is exactly what draws the attention of a young government attorney named Young, who is assigned to handle it. As he begins going through the case files, something doesn't sit right with him, because despite the brutality of the death, the house itself tells a completely different story. It is clean, undisturbed, almost unnaturally calm, as if nothing violent ever happened there. The motive presented is clear and straightforward. Money, because Yuna's husband was extremely wealthy, with multiple insurance policies and valuable assets that would now all transfer to her, making it look like a perfectly planned crime. But Yuna herself doesn't behave like someone who committed murder for gain, because she doesn't try to defend herself, doesn't show desperation, and doesn't even attempt to explain her actions. She simply repeats the same line over and over again, "I killed him," and then falls silent. Young doesn't believe her, and as he digs deeper, he comes across something important hidden in her diary, a mention of a powerful drug, one that can cause death even in small doses, which suddenly opens up a completely new possibility. Now it seems likely that the husband was first drugged until he became unconscious, and only then was his mouth sealed shut, which means the act wasn't impulsive, but calculated, or at least carried out with some thought. While the police remain convinced that this is just a simple case of a wife killing her husband for money, Young begins to suspect that there is something much bigger being hidden beneath the surface. That suspicion grows stronger when one day, he receives a mysterious package from a place called the Havana Bookstore, and inside it is a book with a delicate flower drawn on its cover, but what truly stands out is a single line inside that has been highlighted, "I am with you." There is no sender, no explanation, and when Young shows it to Yuna, expecting at least some kind of reaction, she gives him nothing but silence, refusing to reveal who might have sent it or what it means. Trying to break through that silence, Young brings up the only thing that might matter more to her than anything else, her daughter, Minji, a small child who is now left alone while her mother sits behind bars, and he asks her what will happen to that child if she continues to accept a crime she may not have committed. For a brief moment, it feels like Yuna might finally speak, but once again, she chooses silence, as if protecting something far more important than her own freedom. When the case reaches the courtroom, things take an unexpected turn, because despite her earlier confession, Yuna suddenly denies the crime, forcing the judge to delay the final verdict and reopen the case. After the hearing, Yuna asks Young to visit her daughter, and when he arrives at the house, he immediately senses that something is wrong. The atmosphere is heavy, the silence feels unnatural, and Minji herself appears distant, avoiding eye contact, barely speaking, and carrying a fear that doesn't match her age. No matter how much Young tries to talk to her, she doesn't respond, and that silence leaves behind more questions than answers. Back in court, Young takes a bold step by presenting a video that exposes the truth behind Yuna's confession, showing how the police forced her into admitting the crime, which immediately weakens the entire case against her. Now, for the first time, Yuna begins to reveal what really happened that night. How her husband came home drunk and under the influence of drugs, how he beat her repeatedly, assaulted her, and continued abusing her until his own body gave in and he collapsed. She says she ran away out of fear, and when she returned later, he was already dead. But the opposing side quickly challenges her story, pointing out that there are no signs of struggle in the house, no broken objects, no visible evidence of violence, which makes her version of events seem questionable. As the case grows more intense, Young is warned to step away, threatened with consequences that could destroy his future, but he refuses to back down, because for him, this is no longer just a case. It's about uncovering the truth. Then another complication enters the story in the form of Yuna's sister-in-law, who offers to help her, but only in exchange for custody of Minji, a condition that Yuna immediately rejects, unwilling to lose the one person she is trying to protect. However, the situation worsens when it is revealed that the sister-in-law has already initiated legal proceedings for custody, adding even more pressure on Yuna. As her mental state begins to crack under stress, Yuna recalls a crucial detail. Before leaving the house that night, she had given her husband one more dose of the drug, and during all of this, Minji had been watching from upstairs. This realization terrifies her, because it means her daughter may have witnessed everything, and the fear of what that could mean pushes her into panic. Later, she confesses this to Young and begs him to save her daughter at any cost. In the next court session, new evidence surfaces in the form of CCTV footage showing Yuna entering a car in a parking area that same night, accompanied by a witness who claims to have seen her with another man, which the defense uses to label her as unfaithful and suggest a new motive for the murder. Young is caught off guard by this and demands to know who she met that night, but once again, Yuna refuses to answer, choosing silence over explanation. As the investigation continues, Young discovers that the sister-in-law runs a veterinary clinic where the same drug found in Yuna's diary is used, which raises serious suspicion about her involvement. To test this, he sends someone undercover, and when the question of using the drug on humans is raised, the reaction is immediate and hostile, further deepening the suspicion. Back in court, Young shifts the focus onto the sister-in-law, exposing her financial motives, her interest in her brother's insurance policies, and her easy access to the drug, turning her into a possible suspect. Meanwhile, Minji's condition worsens under the pressure, and when she is finally able to speak, she reveals that her father was someone she feared deeply, someone who continues to haunt her even in her dreams, and that she had made a promise to her mother not to reveal what happened that night. At this point, it becomes clear that both mother and daughter are hiding a truth that could change everything. Determined to uncover it, Young returns to the Havana bookstore, where he finds Yuna's photo displayed, strengthening the connection between her past and the mysterious message he received. But the real breakthrough comes when he identifies the car from the CCTV footage, a white Audi that belongs not to a stranger, but to the judge handling the case. In the next hearing, Young takes a bold step by questioning the judge herself, forcing her to step down as a new judge is brought in, and under pressure, the truth finally begins to emerge. Yuna and the judge were in a secret relationship, and on the night of the incident, they had met in that very car, where the judge pleaded with Yuna to leave her abusive husband and start a new life together, but Yuna refused out of fear. The judge admits that she hid this truth to protect her career, even though it could have changed the course of the case. Flashbacks reveal how they met at the Havana bookstore, how their shared pain brought them closer, and how their connection slowly turned into love, leading them to dream of escaping everything and starting over, a dream they never managed to fulfill. With this revelation, it becomes clear that Yuna did not kill her husband, and she is finally released. But even then, the story is not over. Back at home, Minji is seen drawing, and among her drawings is a disturbing image, a monster, which represents her father, shaped by the fear and trauma she experienced watching him abuse her mother. And then, the final truth unfolds. Minji is the real killer. That night, after her father collapsed, she approached him, not with the intention to kill, but with the simple desire to stop his shouting, to silence the fear that had consumed her for so long. And in that moment, she sealed his mouth with superglue. A child's attempt to end her fear that resulted in death. Yuna knew the truth all along, which is why she chose to confess, sacrificing her own freedom to protect her daughter from a life of guilt and punishment. Young eventually understands everything, but instead of exposing it, he chooses to remain silent, knowing that some truths, once revealed, can destroy lives beyond repair. And so, the case remains unsolved in the eyes of the world, a mystery that no one fully understands. But we do. In the end, Yuna and the judge begin a new life together, raising Minji in a safer world, far away from the fear that once defined their lives. And that's where Havana ends. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Drama Uncovered, and I'll see you in the next one.